For 3 straight years, the rest of the NBA told itself the same comfortable little story about Victor Wembanyama. He's special, sure, but he's alone. He doesn't have the team yet. There's still time before San Antonio actually becomes a problem. Well, that time everybody thought they had, it's gone.
Williams switched on him, and Harper gets the best. What an athletic finish!
The Spurs walked into Oklahoma City and dethroned the defending champions in a Game 7 on their own floor, 111-103. And here's the part that should scare you. The scariest thing about this team might not even be the 7'4" alien standing in the middle of it. It's the 8 guys around him who all know exactly what their job is. So this isn't another Wembanyama highlight reel. You've got 50 of those in your feed already. We're going through this entire roster, top to bottom, one piece at a time. Because the real reason the Spurs turned into the league's worst nightmare is hiding in the supporting cast. And before anybody jumps in the comments to tell me Oklahoma City was banged up or San Antonio just got hot at the right moment, save it. The Spurs beat the Thunder 8 times across 12 meetings this season. Regular season, the cup, the playoffs, all of it. The reigning champs spent an entire year trying to solve this matchup and never once did. Wembanyama scored just 22 in that Game 7, and they still closed the door comfortably. Right now, that number probably sounds backwards to you. By the time we're done, it'll make perfect sense. Let's get into it. Wembanyama, the foundation. We have to start with Wembanyama, because everything else on this team orbits around him, and I mean that almost literally. People love to talk about his numbers, and fair enough, they're absurd for a 22-year-old. He averaged better than 27 points, almost 11 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks a night across that conference finals run. And he opened the series with 41 points and 24 rebounds in a double overtime Game 1. But there's nothing on a box score that captures what he actually does to a basketball game. You have to watch it to believe it. On defense, he warps the entire offense away from the rim without moving his feet. Teams burn the whole shot clock just trying to keep the ball as far from him as humanly possible, swinging it side to side, driving away from him, settling for the worst shot every single time. And then on offense, it flips. He becomes a black hole. The double comes, the help slides over, 4 sets of eyes lock onto the big fella, and all of that gravity is the exact thing that frees everybody else. The open shooter in the corner, the cutter going backdoor, the guard with a clean runway to the rim, they're open because half the defense is too busy worrying about him to do their own job. It was never really about his scoring. It's about what he lets the other 4 guys do. When you've got a man patrolling the back line who erases mistakes, your teammates get to gamble, crowd the ball, jump passing lanes, pick up full court because they know there's a safety net behind everything. And the history tells you how rare this is. Through his first 16 playoff games, Wembanyama had piled up numbers in the same neighborhood as David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon at the same stage, a Mount Rushmore of big men, and a kid just stepped up next to them. So yes, he's the foundation, but you don't win a championship with a foundation alone. You win it with what you stack on top. And what San Antonio stacked on top of him is where this gets genuinely frightening, because before any team even gets to the big man, they have to answer a different question first. Who stops the guards? Stephon Castle. The Spurs have 3 separate answers to that question, and the most important one might be the most important non-Wembanyama player on the whole roster, Stephon Castle. Castle is the engine. He poured in big scoring nights and ran the offense like a seasoned floor general all postseason. And he stacked up one of the deepest all-around playoff runs you'll see from a young guard by Game 6 against the Thunder. He'd logged his 8th 15-point, 5-rebound, 5-assist game of the playoffs. Among rookies and sophomores in NBA history, only Magic Johnson and Larry Bird ever had more in a single postseason run. Read that again, Magic and Bird. But the thing that makes him terrifying is the other end. He took the toughest defensive assignment in the sport, drawing the 2-time MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander night after night, and made him work for everything. You've got a kid running your offense like a 10-year vet on one end and chasing the best scorer on the planet on the other. That's a two-way star forming right in front of us. So who's the second answer? De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, and Fox is the release valve for this entire offense. When you build a team around a big man working the post and the short roll, there are going to be nights where the whole thing bogs down. The ball sticks, the spacing tightens, the shot clock's draining, and nobody can manufacture a clean look. Fox is the guy who fixes that. The second the offense gets stuck, he takes the game into his own hands, gets downhill, bends the defense, finishes it himself, or kicks it to a shooter. He's the steadying hand on the wheel when things start to wobble. And if you want proof of how much that matters, Look at what happened when he wasn't out there. Fox was ruled out right before Game 1 of the Thunder series with an ankle issue, and the creation load fell squarely onto the young guards. The Spurs survived that one barely, in double overtime, but the strain was obvious. The moment Fox is healthy and beside them, the whole operation breathes easier. That's exactly what a release valve is supposed to do. And then there's the third guy, the one who just feels flat out unfair, Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper. In that Game 1 against the defending champions, with Fox out, the rookie got the spot start and put up 24 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 steals in 47 minutes. Let me give you the context, because it's borderline ridiculous. Since steals became an official stat back in the 1970s, exactly one other rookie in the entire history of the league has ever posted a 20-10-5-5 line in a playoff game. His name is Magic Johnson. That's it. That's the list. Magic and a 20-year-old kid named Dylan Harper. He's a downhill creator and a turnover-forcing pest. And he's the third guard on this team. The third. So now look at it from the other sideline. The math is broken. You can't sell out on Wembanyama, because the instant you do, you've got 3 guards ready to punish you for it. Just stop the big guy, was the entire league-wide plan. These 3 are the reason it doesn't work. But here's the cruel part. Say you somehow pull off the impossible. You wall off the big man, and you keep the guards in check. San Antonio still has a third layer sitting there waiting on you. And it's the layer everybody sleeps on, right up until it buries them. The shooters and wings. Every defense, when it's staring down a great offense, eventually has to make one choice. Somebody is getting left open. You can't guard all 5. So you pick the man you're least afraid of, and you help off him. Against the Spurs, that decision is where teams go to die, because there is no safe man to leave. Start with Julian Champagnie. He shot it at a high clip from deep all postseason. And in Game 7, the single biggest game of the year, he dropped 20 points, 6 of them from 3, with 18 of those 20 coming from behind the arc, and finished as one of the best plus-minus players on the floor. Leave him, and he ends your season. Right next to him, you've got Devin Vassell, the guy who never gets the credit he's owed. He took turns on Gilgeous-Alexander, knocked down his threes at a strong clip in that series, and came up with clutch defensive stops when San Antonio needed them most. He's a two-way wing who can guard Brunson, guard Bridges, guard Anunoby, whoever the matchup demands, and he never hands the game back to you. That kind of stability is worth its weight in gold come June. So who's left to help off of? Keep going down the roster, it only gets worse. The bench and the depth. Then there's Keldon Johnson, the muscle of the whole operation. When a playoff game stops being a chess match and turns into a back alley brawl, Keldon is who you want stepping into it. He came off the bench in Game 7 with 11 points, drilled a couple of threes, and brought pure physicality against a tilted defense that could not slow him down. Every real contender needs a guy who turns the temperature up, and that's him. And I have to talk about Luke Kornet for a second, because Kornet is the perfect snapshot of this entire roster. In Game 7, he played about 6 total minutes. And in those 6 minutes, he came out of nowhere to reject Isaiah Hartenstein at the rim on a fast break, a play that would have cut the Spurs' lead to 4 and flipped all the momentum the other way. Instead, San Antonio scored on the other end and ripped off the run that ended the series.
Luke Kornet with the beautiful rejection.
That's the whole identity of this team. In one possession, a guy plays 6 minutes and makes the single biggest defensive play of a Game 7. Tiny roll, enormous leverage, size showing up at the exact moment they needed it. Add Harrison Barnes giving veteran calm and spacing in limited minutes, and rookie Carter Bryant a long, physical body they trusted enough to throw into the Gilgeous-Alexander game plan without ever pulling a star off the floor, and you start to see it. Top to bottom, there's no weak link to go attack. No possession that ever feels safe. The closed loop. And here's the piece that ties the whole thing together. Those role players, Champagnie, Vassell, the entire bench, they only get those wide open looks because of everyone stacked above them. Wembanyama bends the defense. The guards break it open. And by the time the ball finally swings to the corner, somebody is standing there completely alone. It's a closed loop. Every layer feeds the one beneath it. That's what people actually mean when they say a team has depth, not just warm bodies on the bench, but parts that make each other better every single time down the floor. So there's your answer to the whole thing. The league was never really scared of one guy going off for a big night. It was scared of this, a roster where there's nobody to help off of, no possession that ever feels safe, no obvious way to beat the math. Wembanyama is the reason all of it works. But those 8 guys around him are the reason it's terrifying. The thing everyone swore was coming someday is already here, fully assembled, years ahead of schedule. The finals turn, and now point that machine at the Knicks. New York came into this finals as a brutal matchup, deep, physical, battle-tested, with Jalen Brunson dragging them through war after war. They are not some soft opponent, and I want to be clear about that. But every great offense the Spurs faced this postseason had to answer the same questions, and New York is being forced to answer them too. Brunson is going to get his, he always does, but he's also spending this series running into Castle, Fox, and Harper, taking turns bodying him for 94 feet, and into Wembanyama, waiting at the rim every time he turns the corner. As of right now, the Spurs find themselves in a hole in this series, fighting to climb back against a Knicks team that's played some of the best basketball of the entire postseason. So however this one ends, win or lose, the bigger truth is already locked in. Whether or not the trophy comes home this June, the league no longer gets to pretend San Antonio is a problem for some other year. Because that's the real story here. The NBA spent 3 years comforting itself with the idea that it had time. Time before San Antonio surrounded its alien with real players. Time to cook up an answer. Time to figure out the math. That time is gone. The team showed up early, it showed up complete, and every single man in that rotation knows precisely what he's there to do. This isn't just a good young team anymore. It's the front edge of a shift the moment the sport's next era stopped being a prediction and turned into a fact, standing 7'4" in the middle of the floor. So drop your prediction in the comments. Does this Spurs core win it all this year? Or is this just the first of many? Let me hear it. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives like this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.